After the family reunion, I checked my bank account, and my stomach dropped. It was completely emptied. My brother-in-law let out a snort. "We needed it more than you," he said like it was some kind of joke. My hands shook as I reached for my bag. I looked at him dead on and said, "Then you won't mind what happens next." They all laughed until a loud sudden bang rattled the walls. The front door slammed open. "You're seriously mad about this?" Seth was leaning against the fridge, beer in hand. That familiar smug half-smile stuck to his face. "Relax," he repeated. "We needed it more than you." I stared at my phone, thumb frozen above the refresh button. I'd already tapped it 3 times, but the number hadn't changed. $4.87. That's all that was left. That had to be wrong. Just yesterday, I had over $14,000 in there. 14,000. "You what?" My voice wavered, cracked at the edges. Sarah, my sister, laughed from her spot on the couch. She looked completely at ease, legs tucked under her, sipping wine like this was game night, not grand theft. "Oh, come on," she said. "Don't be so dramatic. It's not like we stole it. We're family." "You emptied my account," I said, staring straight at her. "It's not stealing if we're going to pay it back," Seth chimed in, giving a casual shrug. "Eventually." I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out, just silence. My eyes drifted to Mom, sitting calmly across the room with her knitting needles. She didn't even look up. "Mom," I said louder this time, "did you know?" She let out a sigh, the kind you'd expect if I'd just complained about the food being too salty. "Sweetheart, you're always so sensitive. You have a good job, no mortgage, no kids. You live by yourself. You're fine. So that makes it okay to steal from me?" "Language, Mason," Dad mumbled, eyes still glued to his phone. I turned back to Sarah. "How did you even get into my account?" She didn't even flinch. "You left your info on the family computer. Maybe don't log in and walk away next time. Honestly, it's kind of your fault." "My fault?" I bit down the words that wanted to escape. My hands were clenched now, knuckles white. My chest felt tight, breathing shallow. "You're blowing this way out of proportion," Seth said lazily. "It's not like we wasted it on junk. We paid rent, bought groceries. You know, survived," Sarah muttered like that explained everything. "You never asked," she snapped when I didn't respond. "We didn't think we needed to." Then she tossed in, "You've been covering stuff for years. What's the difference if it came through you or straight from you?" I bent down, picked up my bag, and stood slowly. No one moved. No one said sorry. No shock. No shame. Just indifference. "You're leaving already?" Mom asked without looking up. "Yup," I said, pulling my coat on. "But don't worry, I'll be following up." Sarah rolled her eyes. "Don't be like that. We needed it more than you. That's just facts." My hand landed on the doorknob. I paused. "Then you won't mind what happens next." They chuckled behind me, but outside something had already shifted. A storm had begun, whether they felt it or not. "You've always helped, and that's what you're for, right?" I was halfway to my car when I heard someone behind me. "Hey, are you okay?" It was Jin, my cousin. He caught up to me as I stomped toward my car, fists clenched, jaw wired tight. "No," I muttered, yanking the door open. "I heard what Sarah said," he added quietly. "That wasn't right." I didn't respond, because if I opened my mouth, I was going to explode. See, this wasn't the first time. I'd been the steady one for years, the reliable one, the one who didn't need help, which apparently made me the designated bank account for the whole family. It started off small. Sarah missed a phone payment. I stepped in. Then Seth lost his job and asked for a bit of cash, just to float through the month. Then came their daughter's birthday. I never offered to pay, but they never asked. They just assumed I would. And every single time, they made it seem like it was my responsibility. "You're lucky, Mason," Mom would say in that voice, syrupy sweet, but razor sharp underneath. "You don't have the same problems your sister does. God gave you more so you could share it." Then Dad would chime in as always. "You wouldn't be here without us." Translation? We made you. Now pay us back. But I never asked them for anything. Not once. Not when I lost my job and scraped by on rice and eggs for 6 months. Not when I skipped every vacation 3 years in a row just to build my savings back up. Not even when I helped erase Sarah and Seth's credit card debt 2 years ago. They never paid it back. Not a cent. They didn't even say thank you. Last week, Sarah messaged me, "You still coming to the family reunion?" "Yeah," I replied. "Should I bring anything?" She answered fast, "Just bring yourself and your card." I laughed. Thought it was a joke. It wasn't. 2 days after the whole thing blew up, my phone started ringing. Sarah, I didn't pick up. She called again. And again. Then a text from Seth popped up. "Just call her, man. She's freaking out." I answered on the fifth try. "Mason," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "we've got a problem." "Oh, we do?" "Don't be like that," she said quickly. "Something happened." I didn't say a word. She continued. "The power company came today. We're behind on the power bill. Like seriously behind," Sarah said quickly. "They're threatening to shut it off if we don't pay by Monday." I waited. She paused. "So, we need your help." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "You bled my savings dry and now you want more?" "It wasn't all for us," she snapped. "We used some of it to help Mom and Dad, too. Remember when Dad's car broke down last month?" Number, because no one told me. Because you always say no unless it's an emergency. "Sarah," I said, flat and calm, "this isn't just wrong. It's criminal." She rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. It's family. You didn't ask me. We didn't think you'd care. You always help. That's kind of your role, right?" There it was again. That's what you're for. Not a brother, not a son, just a function. That night I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, retracing every step of the last 5 years. Every favor, every quiet Venmo. Every time Mom said, "You're the strong one," like that made it my job to carry the rest. Every time Sarah sighed and rolled her eyes if I hesitated for even a second. They never saw me. Not really. Not as a person. Just as a resource. 3 days later, Mom called. "We need to talk." She didn't ask how I was. Didn't ask about work. Didn't mention the stolen money. "We're having a family dinner tonight. Just us. Come by." My stomach dropped. "What's this really about?" "Mason," she said, her voice low and guilt-laced, "you've created a lot of tension." I caused the tension. Still I went. Part of me wanted answers. The other part just wanted to see if they'd even bother faking an apology. They didn't. When I walked in, Sarah was already there, arms crossed tight. Seth was slouched beside her, looking bored out of his mind. Mom clanked dishes in the kitchen. Dad flipped through the mail like nothing had happened. "So," Sarah said the moment I sat down, "are we going to act like adults or not?" "Depends," I said. "You ready to admit to felony theft?" She scoffed. "God, you're so extra. It wasn't theft. It was family money. We needed it." Seth nodded along. "You can afford it. Why make it a thing?" "Because I never gave you permission," I snapped. "You didn't say no either," Sarah shot back. "Because I didn't know." "Details," she muttered like it was nothing. I turned to Mom. "And you? You're just okay with this?" She didn't meet my eyes. "We all agreed. You've always been the one who could handle it." "No one even thought to ask," she added, barely above a whisper. "We trusted you," Dad chimed in from the couch. "Trusted you to do what's right." I stood up. "And what's right?" "Letting you rob me blind while smiling to my face?" "Stop calling it stealing," Sarah shouted. "It was for the family." "Then I guess the family can deal with the consequences." "What's that supposed to mean?" Seth narrowed his eyes. I didn't answer. "Not yet, because now they don't get to cry about the fallout." When I stepped into the house that night, everyone was already there. Mom set the table, clinking the plates just a little too loud. Dad flipped channels like this was any other Thursday night. Sarah stood by the window, arms crossed and jaw locked. Seth leaned back at the far end of the table like he was waiting for the pre-game show to start. "Well, look who finally decided to show up," Sarah said, dry as dust. I dropped my bag near the door and muttered, "Let's just get this over with." "Good," Seth grinned. "Maybe we can stop pretending you were robbed." "I was robbed." I pulled out a chair and sat. That was the cue. Mom cleared her throat. Mason, we know you're upset, but you have to understand, we were struggling. We didn't have another choice. Sarah and Seth were drowning, she said. And you, Dad added, you've always been the stable one. We knew we could count on you. You didn't ask, I replied, ice in my voice. You just took. That's not family. That's theft. Sarah rolled her eyes again. God, you're being so dramatic. We didn't blow it on stupid stuff. We spent it where it mattered. Really? I asked. Then I pulled out a folder and slammed it on the table. $72 on makeup, $900 on takeout, $2,300 towards Seth's car loan. I locked eyes with him. Didn't think I'd check, did you? Seth leaned forward, jaw tight. You went through our accounts? Oh, I did more than that. I opened my laptop. The screen lit up with a spreadsheet, color-coded, organized. Every transaction, every charge, all of it traced. I filed a fraud report. Sarah's face drained. You didn't. I did. You called the police, she shrieked. I turned to Mom. Still think this is just a family matter? This is insane, Dad barked. You're really going to put your own sister in jail? You put yourself there, I said quietly. Then came the knock. 3 hard, deliberate pounds on the door. Sarah's face went white. Seth stood so fast he nearly knocked his chair over. Mom backed up in shock. Dad went still. Open up, a voice boomed. Financial Crimes Unit. Knock, knock, knock. Seth turned toward me, voice low and shaking. Mason, please tell me you're not serious. I opened the door. 3 agents stepped inside. Their jackets were marked with bold yellow letters. One held a clipboard, another scanned the room with a tablet. The third just watched everyone in silence. Are you Mason Carver? Yes. Thank you for your cooperation. We'll take it from here. Mom clapped a hand over her mouth. Sarah dropped into a chair like her legs couldn't hold her. Seth looked like he might pass out on the spot. One of the agents turned toward them. You're listed as parties of interest in an active investigation regarding financial fraud and identity theft. Identity theft, Mom cried. He's our son. The agent didn't flinch. Being related doesn't make illegal activity legal, ma'am. We didn't steal anything, Sarah sobbed. We had a right. He always helped us. He always... Believing you're entitled to someone's money doesn't make it yours, one agent said coolly. Remain seated. I stood quietly in the corner. And for the first time in my life, they didn't interrupt me. They didn't roll their eyes. They didn't laugh. Mom turned toward me, voice trembling, eyes glassy. Mason, please. We never meant to hurt you. We were desperate. You've always been the strong one, the only one we could count on. I looked her in the eye. You don't get to cry now. She covered her face and sobbed. Sarah tried to speak, but nothing came out. Seth looked ready to run, but the agent's stare pinned him in place. I stepped forward. You want to talk about family? Family is trust. It's respect. It's asking, not assuming. It's giving, not stealing. It's not sitting around laughing while you drain someone dry. No one said a word. I picked up my bag, turned to the lead agent and said, I'll be outside. This time no one followed me. No one tried to stop me. You're free now, Mason, a voice echoed in my head. Don't go back. I stepped out into the night. No yelling, no guilt, no Sarah screaming, how could you, after me? Just silence, and the crunch of tires on gravel as the investigators led them out, one by one. I didn't stay to watch. That night I drove aimlessly, no destination in mind. Just drifting past closed coffee shops and neon-lit gas stations, my phone buzzing nonstop in the passenger seat. I didn't answer a single call. I didn't want apologies disguised as excuses. By midnight, I parked in front of the only place that had ever felt like home, Grandma's old house. She'd passed a few years ago, but I still had the key. She used to say, if they ever turn on you, Mason, you come here. The door will always open. And that night it did. I slept for 11 straight hours. No texts, no guilt. No tension in my chest like I always carried around my family. When I woke up, I made coffee in one of her chipped mugs. Then I stood by the window, watching the morning light stretch across the fence where she used to garden. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. But peace doesn't stay quiet for long. That afternoon, an email from Dad landed in my inbox. This has gone too far. You've humiliated the entire family. What happened to loyalty? I didn't reply. Then Sarah texted, I hope you're happy. They're freezing my accounts. Seth's under investigation at work. You ruined our lives over a few payments. A few? Try tens of thousands. Try 5 years of silent sacrifice. Then came a voicemail from Mom, her voice soft. Breaking. You didn't have to do this, sweetheart. We could have handled it as a family. Please. They're talking about charges. They said we might lose the house. I replayed that part. Might lose the house. And for once, I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel vengeance. I felt nothing. Because I had already lost a home. The moment they chose a bank account over a son. 2 days passed. Then a message popped up from someone unexpected. Seth's brother. We'd maybe spoken 5 words at birthdays. His message was short. Just so you know, Sarah's trying to pin this on you. Says you knew and approved the transfers. There's a lawyer involved. Watch your back. I almost laughed. Even now. Even with everything collapsing, she was still spinning the story. That night, I called my lawyer. Send everything, I said. We're not just pressing charges. I want a restraining order too. But not every message that came in was cruel. A week later, an email from Kelly, Seth's sister. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I just wanted to say, you were right about everything, about how they treat you, about how toxic it's gotten. I used to think you were cold. Now I think you were brave. I read that line again. Brave. No one in my family had ever used that word on me. Then one morning my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost declined, but something told me to answer. Mason? The voice was soft, worn out. It's Sarah. I didn't say a word. She kept talking. Look, I know I messed up, okay? I went too far. I didn't think it would turn out like this. Seth's been suspended. Mom won't stop crying. And Dad, he won't even look at me. She hesitated, then said it. And you always had the power to destroy everything. And you finally did. I didn't say a word at first. Then with no emotion, I replied, I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped letting you walk all over me. Silence. Then her voice came back, soft and desperate. Can you just stop now? Drop the charges. Please, I'll do anything. Just make it stop. For a second, I felt something. Almost. But then I remembered her voice the night of the reunion. We needed it more than you. I smiled to myself bitterly. No, I said. You made this mess. You can live in it. And I hung up. That night I cooked dinner in peace. Played the same album I used to blast in my college dorm. Sat on the porch with a warm mug of coffee and watched the sky dim into night. And for the first time since I was a teenager, no one asked me for money. No guilt-tripping texts. No passive-aggressive comments about how I had it easy. No emotional blackmail disguised as love. I wasn't their wallet anymore. I was just me, and that was finally enough. I'm not your bank. I'm not your backup plan. I'm done. It's funny how quiet peace really is. No one warns you about that. You expect fireworks or a grand sense of relief. But for me, peace sounded like this. No more phone calls calling me selfish. No more messages starting with, since you're the only one doing well. No more pity disguised as entitlement. Just silence. Uninterrupted, sacred silence. 3 months have passed since that night. Since I finally lit the match and watched the illusion burn. Since agents walked through the front door and reality finally cracked through the delusion my family had wrapped around themselves for years. They say you can't choose your family. Maybe that's true. But you can choose how much of yourself you're willing to lose trying to keep them happy. And I'd lost enough. The fallout was quick. Sarah and Seth tried to clean it up first. A lawyer emailed mine with an offer to settle things privately. No apology, no accountability, just PR. I told my lawyer 2 words, let it burn. A week later, Mom sent me a letter, 10 handwritten pages, her cursive still neat, but shaky. She wrote about how it got out of hand, how they never meant to hurt me, how she hoped I'd see the bigger picture. We just assumed you'd always be there, she wrote. That's what good sons do. That line stuck with me because it said everything. Not we were wrong, not you deserved better. Just you were supposed to stay quiet and keep giving. I didn't respond, I didn't call, and for once in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. I moved, new city, new apartment, new state. No more surprise knock-knocks from Sarah. No more cousins showing up, just passing through. I changed my number, started fresh. My boss noticed the difference. Offered me a promotion, I took it. Funny what happens when you're not secretly managing your mom's utility bills and your sister's car payments behind the scenes. I slept better. I ate better. I breathed better. Because I wasn't carrying four grown adults who never once said thank you. Then one morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside was a check for $1,200 and a handwritten note. I left him. You were right. I was scared. But watching what you did gave me the courage to walk away too. This is for everything you paid for Ellie. The tablet, the clothes, the rent. I know Seth never thanked you, but I am. Thank you for being the example I needed. Kelly, I read it twice. Then I cried. Not from sadness, not from pain, but because for the first time, someone in that family saw me. Not as a walking credit card, not as the fallback plan, but as a person. People sometimes ask me if I regret it, if I regret cutting ties, pressing charges, making it public. And the answer is simple. Number, what I regret is waiting so long. I regret every sleepless night, every birthday I paid for but was barely invited to, every vacation I canceled so I could cover someone else's bills, every tight month I spent rationing groceries while they dined out and posted grateful family vibes on Instagram. I regret shrinking myself so they could feel big, but now I take up space and I don't apologize for it. I regret all the times I stayed quiet when I should have said, "You're crossing a line." But do I regret finally standing up, burning it all down? Not for a second. My therapist once asked me, "Why did it take you so long to say no?" I thought about it, then said, "Because I believed that saying no meant I didn't love them." She nodded gently and replied, "Saying no is how you teach people to love you back." I've never forgotten that. A few days ago, I bumped into someone from high school. She said, "Hey, I saw what happened with your family. That's wild." For a second, I braced for pity or judgment, but instead she smiled and added, "Good for you. Most people never make it out." I thanked her and walked away a little taller. Sarah and Seth are still under investigation. Last I heard, Seth lost his job. Sarah's bank account was frozen. Mom's trying to refinance the house, and Dad, he's blaming outside influence for ripping the family apart. They still don't get it. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending the pieces weren't already broken. Sometimes I get flashbacks. That night around the table, Sarah laughing as I stared at my drained account, Seth smirking like it was a prank, Mom dismissing it all with a wave of her hand. "You don't need that money," she'd said. But now they understand. That money, it wasn't just numbers in a bank account. It was my life, my time, my health, my boundaries. And for years, they crossed all of it like none of it mattered. Now they're finally paying the price. I don't celebrate their downfall, but I do celebrate myself for surviving it, for choosing to walk away, for not turning back, even when the silence felt cold, even when guilt whispered in my ear like it always used to. Because that silence, that's what freedom sounds like. So if you're reading this and you've been the strong one, the responsible one, the dependable one, the good son or daughter who's expected to give and never say a word, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to walk away. And when you do, you don't lose a family. You find yourself.